Hello and welcome to DCP SideQuest episode number 41, the Pandemic Mondays, brought to you by Juicy Xbox News.
Whoa. Yes. Whoa. That was me thinking I could escape the news for just a second. Like, hey, let me just sneak it into the intro. Okay.
Now that we got that out of the way.
Yep, pretty much.
Guys, I am more excited about the future of video gaming than I can remember being in forever. This Xbox news, is so exciting to me. There's so much of it too. Like the Xbox team basically invited a bunch of people out, like YouTubers like Digital Foundry, and they were able to really ask questions and really get in detail specs and what this thing's going to do and why it's so revolutionary, and even take it apart and put it back together. They had a broken apart unit that you could put together with magnets so that they could see all the pieces. It looks expensive on the inside. I got to say, I'm a little worried about what the price of this thing is going to be.
Same. I saw those specs tweeted and I was like, what?
Yeah.
How is this going to be $500?
Still waiting for that price point.
Yeah,
so
we haven't gotten that yet.
That's what we need. I need the price point.
That's a big thing. But I mean, based on what I'm reading here, $500 seems like a bargain.
Yeah. So let's go through the specs real quick.
Yeah.
If we could.
Okay.
So,
all right. So these are the specs. I got all my information from the Digital Foundry YouTube video. Okay. So I basically took notes on their video. So if you want more info, they actually put out 2 videos today, one with them kind of giving their overall viewpoint on the subject and one with just specs. So that's where this info is coming from, but it's really good info. So it's based on the AMD Zen 2 CPU, which we kind of knew before. It's got 8 cores, clocked to 3.8 gigahertz with no simultaneous multi-threading. Okay. However, game developers can turn on simultaneous multi-threading if they wish to and get a little bit slower clock speed at 3.6 gigahertz.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting.
That is interesting.
Microsoft expects most developers to use the non-SMT mode and just program per core what they want their game to do. It's got a custom RDNA 2 GPU with 12 teraflops and 52 compute units clocked at 1.82 gigahertz each. That doesn't mean much to us mortals, but basically it's going to be about twice the power of the Xbox One X.
Yeah, I heard people speculating it's basically a 2080 RTX 2080.
Yes. So it's interesting is I had thought it was going to be less powerful than that. But when Digital Foundry, they were actually looking at Gears of War 5 running on this thing, and they said they would kind of equate it with a 2080 running in a modern day computer, on PC.
Okay.
That's good.
It's got 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 RAM, which is a lot of RAM for a console.
And it's
a lot of RAM.
It's basically what you would put in for a gaming PC is 16 gigs.
Oh, absolutely. Right. But it doesn't have the overhead of a PC.
Yeah. The Windows operating system isn't taking up part of that.
And it's got a 1 terabyte custom NVMe SSD storage drive, internal, and then you can also put external NVMe storage drives into it. They look like memory cards kind of, but they were described as being heavy and made out of metal, and it was they thought that
Xbox
probably
brand?
the metal. What's that?
Is this like an Xbox accessory brand? NVMe?
Yeah, this is going to be, it's made by Seagate, but it's an official Xbox accessory.
Oh, wow.
It goes into the back of the unit. It's about the size of, imagine a memory card from a PS2 or PS1.
Wait, are they bringing back memory cards? Basically,
they're bringing back memory cards.
1 terabyte memory cards.
Start off at 1 terabyte, and they're going to be, the external memory card is going to be just as fast as the internal one. So you'll be able to run games off of it, no problem.
That's crazy, man.
That's cool.
I did not expect them to do an NVMe external. Yeah, the cost is huge on that because right now a 1 terabyte NVMe, just the chip is usually about $100. 2 terabyte runs you 200 to 250, 400 if you get the good one, or the quote unquote good one, high rated one with a good control and all that. So that's a big question mark how those are going to turn out. I mean, this whole thing just sounds like a $1,200 to $1,500 PC.
Right. Right. True.
Yeah.
People have been memeing hard about the external storage, comparing it to the PS Vita and how that killed the PS Vita. Do you remember how the PS Vita used you had to get that Sony specific memory stick.
Oh yeah. That was like stupidly expensive.
But that thing was stupid because there was already memory discs or memory cards, like SanDisk memory cards, that were widely available, and it just Sony just chose to use their proprietary.
Yeah, they wanted to bone the consumer, as they usually do.
Yeah, this is different. There's nothing like this that I can think of that is available to the consumer.
Yeah. And
nothing external that runs at NVMe speeds.
Yeah. Also, let's be brutally honest. The PS Vita didn't fail because of the memory cards. It just failed because Sony didn't really support it very well. Let's not try. That sounds like a PS Vita defender being like, the only reason it failed is because they started to sell me a memory card. No, it wasn't zero support.
It wasn't one in the plus column of the PS Vita, that's for sure.
True. I'm just hyped about the prospect, because I was thinking about my GameCube the other day, and I was like, I miss the days of putting a memory card in. I'm not even gonna use the internal memory. I'm just gonna buy memory cards for my Xbox One X Series X. I'm gonna leave it out like a retro series.
Theoretically in the future too, you can upgrade your X, like if they come out with a 2 terabyte or 4 terabyte or however big these things end up getting, they'll cost. I mean, they're gonna be expensive. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Like I said, just the normal chip from like a regular brand is like about $100 for those 1 terabytes.
Yeah, and
they're
like
gonna
I
sell
wonder,
the console at $500, and then they're gonna get their money back on the store.
$200 hard drive.
That's where they're gonna make their money.
That's
there we go.
Bring over your NVMe drive to your friend's house. Boom, chip it in to your Xbox.
Like, I wonder if somebody's gonna make like an adapter for the PC, because how convenient would it be to have?
It'd be amazingly
fast
convenient.
external storage like that for a PC.
That's actually what I thought when you started describing it. I was like, why don't I have this on my PC?
Yeah.
This would be so nice to be able to swap drives like that.
Yeah. What else? So it's got this thing called velocity architecture, which means it can use the NVMe as virtual memory, which means that it can swap information that's in memory and on the drive very, very quickly to allow for like rapidly, like say you're moving quickly through a world and the things in one room look different than the things in the next room. Well, you're not going to have to pause and load all the new textures and images and everything. It's going to be able to stream very quickly off of the NVMe and into memory and swap back and forth.
Right.
Cool.
It's got hardware decompression at 6 gigabyte per second, so that theoretically you'll get better storage out of these NVMe's, because it can compress everything that's on it, and then it can hardware decompress it as it's reading it off.
Nice. That's kind of like the cell phone technology. iPhones do that with videos.
Yeah.
Where videos are highly compressed on iPhones, and you don't realize how big they actually are. And that's how they retain a lot of quality.
That's how you have like 100 4K videos on your iPhone.
Yeah, right.
Direct storage, faster storage swaps between SSD and RAM, meaning more variety of detail can be shown in rapid succession. And it also has enhanced texture streaming, which only loads the parts of textures that you can see on the screen. So it's
texture culling.
You can build higher res, higher detailed, larger textures, and they won't necessarily have to sit in the system RAM, because the machine can pull it off and use it only when you're actually looking at it.
So if I'm imagining this correctly, it's like, imagine a wall that's fully textured with a super high resolution map, like let's say an 8K map. And then there's a bunch of boxes on the wall that are covering up parts of the textures that you can't actually see. So the renderer will intelligently remove those from the memory, so it's not wasting those parts of the textures in RAM, so you can be performance, basically.
Yeah, it's also not taking up performance on the chip itself.
Yeah. Interesting.
These are just things that are just going to make games look amazing.
They really are.
Yeah, true.
Absolutely.
True.
Yeah.
It's got this custom 130 millimeter fan at the top. It's kind of like this funnel shape. It's kind of an interesting looking fan. It's custom to this device, and it's specifically to dissipate heat. So it's not just like what you imagine is this thing is just blowing heat straight up. And like if you have something like near it, it's just going to heat that thing up. But it kind of like disperses the heat. And even if you put a book on it, there's like these side vents that you don't really see in the pictures that help it dissipate heat too.
That's good. I wonder how effective those side vents are, because in the past we've had be like, yeah, it's totally fine to do the console like this, and then it's like 3 months later it's cooked.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that Microsoft is pretty aware of the thermal situation in this thing based on the Xbox 360 and the troubles they had with that. I hope they never repeat a situation like that. But this thing, I mean, it's just a monster inside. The heat sink on the thing, it's got this huge heat sink that covers not only the chip, the CPU and GPU, but also the memory that surrounds it. It's massive.
Wow.
It'd be massive in your computer.
Yeah.
So they showed a demo of Gears of War 5 playing at 4K at 100 FPS. And they said that the team that worked on this only had about 2 weeks to tweak it to get it to do this. It was also running at PC Ultra settings with ray tracing enabled at 4K 100 FPS.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
It's better than my computer.
It's better than my computer. That is crazy.
That is wow, we're all Xbox gamers now. But
yeah. Digital Foundry really said, they haven't looked into the footage, and I'm sure that they'll be doing one of those really deep dives into the footage like Digital Foundry does. But they said off the top of their head, it really looked like an RTX 2080 just running right off the bat, which is pretty high end.
That's nuts, man. I'm still kind of too good to believe at the moment.
Yeah.
That's like a
volume price of $999.
Yeah, right. What is a
2 payments of $1,000?
$700, right?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Some of that, yeah.
But that's just the card. This is a whole system with CPU and RAM and NVMe's, and it's hard to believe, actually.
Yeah, they also said the cutscenes, which ran on the Xbox One X at 30 FPS, now run at 60.
Wow.
Which is nice. It's weird when
it's always
you're
nice.
gaming at a high frame rate and all of a sudden you see a cutscene and it's like,
like in Destiny, yeah.
So ray tracing is supported on a hardware level. That's awesome because I think it's just going to increase developer support for ray tracing in general.
Yeah, it's going to become a standard. So you're going to see it in all games. It's going to be like, well, of course there's ray tracing, and it's going to be like anti-aliasing, being able to turn that on and off. That's such a standard. It's so weird not to have anti-aliasing in games.
Yeah.
So I could see that becoming the standard now.
It's got a bunch of technologies that are aimed at dynamic latency reduction. One of them is a reduced controller latency over Bluetooth and USB that is backward compatible with Xbox One controllers via a firmware update.
Wow. Interesting.
Which is, hey, that's nice.
That's great.
Yeah. You just bought an Elite controller like I did. That's going to get updated to use this new low latency mode.
Nice.
Everything I've heard so far just really dials in to what a PC gamer is like going, hey, well, do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have this? Do you have latency on, latency on the controller is definitely something that a PC gamer is going to be like, well, I need my frames. I need my, this type of thing. And the input delay adjusted accordingly. Yeah.
The Xbox latency has, I've heard developer talk specifically about developing on both the PlayStation and Xbox, and how latency on the Xbox is much lower than latency on the PlayStation 4 controller, which I was surprised about. I didn't realize that. So the fact that they're already kind of in the lead with that and that they're working on reducing it even more is pretty impressive to me.
Yeah, even that it's a talking point, that it would be something that they want to look at when it's already good.
There's more.
Oh, yes.
They're also reducing display latency using a new signal that they send to TVs to turn on what's called an automatic low latency mode on TVs.
Ooh,
my new LG TV has that. I did that with the Xbox One X.
That's awesome. Yeah. Some of my TVs have that too. It's like it automatically turns on game mode.
Yeah.
Public service announcement. If your TV has a game mode, turn it on. You could be saving yourself like 75 milliseconds, 100 milliseconds.
Your KD latency could skyrocket.
It's true. It's true. It's true.
Nothing will help my KD. Nothing. Not even zero latency. I'm sorry. It's destined to always be 0.6.
It's also going to use HDMI 2.1, which supports 120 hertz for 4K signals, as well as variable refresh rates, which we knew before.
Yeah.
Also, it's got new identifiers to track latency in your game engine. So this is going to be mainly usable for developers, but it's basically going to give them like a way to show the latency on the Xbox of the game engine itself, which should help with latency as well, right? Obviously, if they can develop the game to support low latency modes, plus you have a lower latency on your display and a low latency on your controller, like the whole, like, from your hand to your eyeball is all low latency.
It's going to feel incredible playing games on that.
So Xbox gamers will be smacking everybody.
They're going to rise up.
Because they're going to have zero latency. Be careful,
really
Fortnite PC players.
Really cool features. Their new suspend mode that can suspend multiple games simultaneously and then quick resumes. So basically, it takes everything that's in the RAM and saves it to like a file on the NVMe, like when you quit out your game. And then when you start up your game, it just automatically loads that up. So you're back in the game right where you left off. And it can do that with multiple games.
That sounds magical.
So for instance, if I'm playing Ori and the Will of the Wisps and Watts is like, hey, let's play some Trials, within 3 seconds, I'm playing Trials with Watts. And then, okay, Watts, went to get lunch. I'm going back to Will of the Wisps. I'm back in Will of the Wisps in 3 seconds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, really cool. Quick like that.
It sounds like,
and they showed that happening.
It sounds like ROM technology. I mean, like emulation technology built for modern day games.
Right.
Because
that works with old games too.
Wow.
So they showed it with State of Decay 2, where it can take a couple of minutes to load up that game. Well, with this, you're in there in a couple of seconds.
I hope that I hope there's no hiccups with that.
This is like a $3,000 console.
See, they missed a trick with that though, right? See, they've shot themselves in the foot by giving you the ability to instantly resume games, but then also massively reducing the load times. Imagine if they didn't reduce the load times. They were like, well, now you can jump into Ori while this game is loading for 2 minutes, and then you can just swap.
Like your save screen is Ori.
Exactly, right? Like that. But now they're like, well, our console loads too fast, so like you've got 2 seconds to play Ori, and then you're back. It's like, okay,
you're right. Multitasking.
I thought it's kind of interesting when you figure out how it works. You understand why this could work, though. Is that this works? It saves your save state after you shut down the console, or even after you do a system update on the console.
Oh wow!
So it's like,
okay.
like if you mainly play between like 3 or 4 games, you're just constantly just getting the save state.
That's loading. Really cool. Yeah, I mean, it's just a snapshot of the memory. So if the system is dialed in for all this stuff, which obviously it has been to make it all connect really well, then that's incredible. It's interesting also because Microsoft has, with like DirectX, they've been the pioneers for a lot of things in that field, for like the hardware level APIs and all that. It seems like just double downing hardcore on this and having like a dream situation for all these things, from latency monitoring, all that, for the developers, ray tracing enabled. It's cool.
This next one I'm going to file under. I've heard that before. It's got a new 3D audio processor that calculates room acoustics to give you the best 3D room acoustics, like the best 3D audio experience.
Okay, that's fine. Good.
Yeah.
I've definitely heard that before.
Yeah.
I usually turn any kind of audio processing off whenever it's an option.
Same.
Let's put it on stereo.
I mean, I'll definitely try it out though.
Oh god, the TV that we bought had that on, some 3D audio crap, and I was like, this sounds awful. Jesus.
Yeah. It always does. The only time I've heard something like that work well is these old Triton headsets that actually had 7 speakers in each headpiece.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So they would simulate 3D audio by actually just firing different speakers inside the head cup. It worked. They weren't the best sounding headphones I've ever had, but it was a convincing 3D audio.
Nice.
It's got a new D-pad on the controller. The controller is redesigned, but only, like, you can hardly notice it by looking at it. The top of it, where your fingers rest on the triggers and the top buttons is a little slimmer to make it a little easier access up there.
Okay.
And the D-pad has been redesigned to be kind of a hybrid between the circle and the cross that are on the Elite pad. Like, you know how you could switch out that like kind of hexagonal circle in the regular cross. Now it looks like that combined, but it uses a lot of the technology that's in the Elite pad, so it should be very precise and feel good. Which I was
a little bit like surprised when I saw that, because I was like, it's almost like when they made the Xbox One controller, and that, you know, because you remember the original one, or is it the Xbox 360 controller that had the weird circle mushy one where you just like push it to the corners and it was a bit rubbish, and then they gradually transitioned to a conventional D-pad. It's almost like the original designer was like, no, I pioneered this circle thing. I'm going to hang on to it. And then he decided to try and bring it back. It's like, we're going to merge it with a D-pad, which has worked for centuries, and we love it. And it clearly works. Let me just try and shoehorn my little circle thing in here. Nobody wants that. Just give me a D-pad. That's all I need.
Yeah. I guess fighting game fans like that kind of circular thing.
True, but then they also grew up on like D-pads on like the SNES and NES controllers, right? But but still, true.
The circular thing is cool, because you can just like move your thumb around the D-pad easier.
Yeah. The only time I've actually liked the circular thing is on the first Elite that I owned, and it had the plate D-pad that you put on there. That actually felt good because you could still feel the north, south, left, right. Like you could still feel those points. But you could slide your thumb in a circular fashion and reduce the calluses.
Fair.
Yeah, I really like the Elite digital pad. Like, I think it feels great. I've been playing Ori all weekend with it, and like it feels perfect.
Nice.
Back compatibility. So they're going hard on back compatibility again, which I think is one of their biggest strengths, frankly. Xbox backward compatibility will speed loading of old games and will feature increased resolution on older games.
Nice.
The back compatible team, the actual Xbox backward compatibility team, will handle this on a system level, so no developer interaction is needed, and will be bespoke for individual games. So they'll have to actually go in and do it for individual games. They mentioned like Gears of War. The original Gears of War running at 4K, which is, that's just nice. Like if you have an old game that you love, then you put it into your Series X and it's going to run at 4K. That's awesome. As long as it's been kind of like massaged. Now, here's something that they don't have to manually do. This is going to work on all back compat games, is they're turning on HDR. And they have a system level program that can identify the areas that could use HDR on a screen, and they implement it for the game. So they actually showed Halo running with HDR and Fusion Frenzy running with HDR, and you can't really see that on a YouTube video because it's it's an SDR video. But they said it looked fantastic, and it just works. Which is nice. It
just works.
Yeah, it just works. so like all in all, I mean, this thing sounds like it's going to be an absolute powerhouse.
It sounds too good to be true, just straight up.
Yeah, it really does. It's like you're selling it for how? I need to know a price.
Yeah.
This is insane.
How is this not $1,000 or more?
I mean, I think Microsoft have always historically sold their consoles at a loss. Anyway, I mean, I guess a lot of people tend to do it because you kind of you sell your console at a loss and then you make it back later. But with
subscriptions and all that.
But to try and expect that for anything anywhere around sub 500 is just a myth.
Right?
I don't know.
It would be incredible. I mean, gamers rejoice if you can get this box for 500 or less. Holy crap!
How much would you guys pay?
I'll pay an immediate.
It'd be an immediate buy. At $500, this is an immediate buy. I mean, this is a incredible gaming system for $500. Hands down. But
the question is, Microsoft, are you gonna have the games?
Well, it's going to play all the games.
What's so interesting about what Xbox is doing, right, is that you don't have to have the way they have this set up. Is you don't have to have Xbox Series X exclusive games to get the power out of this system.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? If you like playing Gears of War 4 or Halo, what's the next one, Infinite, or any one of your Xbox games, they're going to benefit from the power of the Series X. you know, and then exclusives. Once we start seeing like games that are built for this, they're going to be like mind numbing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
Obviously you're not going to have exclusives from Sony, clearly, but like everything else. So exclusives from Sony and Nintendo, exclude that. And then everything else, if you don't have a monster gaming rig, this is actually, if it's anything less than, say, like what Zemna said in chat, like $699, if it's anything less than $700, I think it's a steal for gaming right now. It's really incredible box.
That's expensive, man. $700.
But if, let's say you don't have a gaming PC with a 2080 Ti, okay? Like you have it's a 960, a GTX 960.
But I do.
let's say you're strictly a console gamer, all right?
Yeah.
And we don't know what all the bells and whistles of the PS5 are going to be just yet. But let's just say, looking at this, that would be a steal for the type of gaming that they are offering. What they're saying in these specs, like this is some next gen type of stuff that they're talking about with all the using the NVMe technology and be able to resume out of memory states and all that. Like this sounds incredible. So
yeah,
I lost my train of thought where I was going with this. I'm still flabbergasted at what's going to be coming from this. I can't. Yeah, from a PC perspective, I'm expecting this to be over $1,000.
Like I was playing on my Xbox One X all weekend long, and I was really having a good time with it. You know, like their system has gotten a lot better than when it initially released at $600 with the Kinect camera.
Yeah.
Like I'm buying into the Xbox microsystems, like their whole ecosystem right now, because they've just really improved it. It really feels streamlined. It's really easy to switch between games. The day I turned on my Xbox and I saw all the purchases I made on the Xbox 360 arcade just populate on my Xbox One, I was like, wow, that's what a nice thing. You know, what a nice feature.
Yeah, that's
right.
Nice. Yeah.
Like continuing that ecosystem in my living room. Yeah, I have a high-end PC in the office, but in the living room, I like to game as well. And boy, having this kind of power in the living room, I mean, I'm going to have to upgrade my TV.
Exactly.
True.
Your TV is going to be behind if you,
Yeah.
So
it's I don't know. I think looking at it, it seems really expensive, and like it's going to be more in the over 500 range. But I think if you want a bunch of people to buy it, especially parents buying for children or getting it for Christmas, going over 500 is going to to be a tough sell.
Yeah, over 500 as a Christmas gift is.
Oh
yeah.
There's also like the rumored Xbox Series S, which would be like a lower, a lower spec version of the new console, but support some of the same technology, so it'd still run the same games. And that could be their strategy, right? Is offer like a really expensive high-end Xbox for the enthusiasts, and then for everybody else offer the S that's $400 or $300, but could still run the same games.
I think it's gonna kill it if they do that, because then there's gonna be the PS5. I don't think the PS5 is gonna do that, and if Sony's smart, they're gonna price it affordably, and it's gonna even if Sony releases a weaker box but can still do next gen things and it's cheaper than the Xbox Series X, that's what people are going to go for then, the PS5.
I hope the PS5 isn't more than $400. I'd like to see that thing release at $400.
Do you think the PS5 is going to be able to match some of these things that they're talking about?
No,
I think
it'll have ray tracing. I think it'll use NVMe storage, but it's not going to have this proprietary external storage like we're talking about here. It's not gonna have all these technologies like the dynamic latency reduction. I'm sure it'll take advantage of HDMI 2.1 and 120 hertz and variable refresh rates. But I mean, these are some Xbox DNA kind of things.
Exactly. Like I said, DirectX, like they've been doing DirectX for 20 years or so with Microsoft, and they're obviously baking all that stuff, all the latest goodies for hardware level APIs into the new Xbox. That's then also going to be compatible with Windows. And then I'm assuming Sony doesn't have access to those things, that they have to make it. They have to have their own team to build all those things.
No, but have you heard the latest rumor about Sony?
No, hit me.
They're in talks with Konami to try and buy.
Oh my God!
The Metal Gear franchise, the Silent Hill franchise, and the Castlevania franchise.
Heard about this?
Outright.
And if Sony ends up getting it, guess who's going to be working on those games?
Right.
Oh, Kojima? Yeah, Kojima. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If Sony gets the rights, Kojima will be working on Metal Gear and Silent Hill.
Would that then be like a Kojima Productions, or would that still be like a Sony owned and Kojima would just advise? I wonder.
I mean, this is all theory and speculation at this point.
Yeah.
But it's a strong rumor. It's been rumored pretty widely at this point.
Yeah.
Also, they talk about Castlevania specifically, in that they'd like to make a Bloodborne-esque Castlevania for the PlayStation.
See, now
that's hitting a lot of pleasure zones.
See, now I'm going to be super disappointed if this never happens.
I know.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I was like, in the style of Bloodborne, I was like, excuse me?
Yeah. Okay. Castlevania is perfect for a Bloodborne Netflix setting.
That would be incredible.
That would be incredible.
They should do all of them like Bloodborne. They should do a Bloodborne Metal Gear Solid, a Bloodborne Silent Hill, and a Bloodborne Castlevania, and sell it as a trilogy.
Silent
and call
Hill
it
that would be spooky and awesome.
The Pain trilogy.
I would love that. Just make every game.
Yeah.
Actually, no, because then they'd probably do it worse, and then I'd complain
Make
about
Destiny like Bloodborne.
Who was the actor that played the main character in that latest Kojima game? What's his name?
Reedus? Norman Reedus.
Norman Reedus.
Yeah, Norman Reedus. Kojima and Norman Reedus already said they're working on another project together. So could that be Silent Hills? That was the project that got killed by Konami.
Didn't Kojima say that the next thing he was working on was like a horror game?
He did, yeah. He did indeed.
The pieces are adding up, man. I'm not saying aliens, but aliens. I mean, this is really, it's a small little tidbit of news, but good Lord, is it exciting. If you're a fan of any of those franchises, putting
this
Metal
is
Gear
rumor
Solid,
though, right?
Oh, it's a rumor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Putting Metal Gear Solid and Silent Hill back in Kojima's hands, getting Castlevania away from Konami, which just seems to be doing nothing with it. Well, they did put out that re-release, the Requiem, last year, which was really good. And apparently part of this news was the news that a couple of years ago, Sony put out, it only came out on PlayStation. Konami put out a version of Rondo of Blood and what was that PlayStation Castlevania game? Symphony of Night.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Those two games just kind of randomly came out as a re-release on PlayStation, but with high def graphics and everything. Apparently Sony spearheaded that. Konami had nothing to do with it.
Oh,
I thought was interesting because that's not going to sell consoles. That's a fan project.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I want that to happen.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting as well because I mean that's how sort of going back to your question earlier of how a PS5 would stack up against the Series X. That's how Sony are obviously ultimately gonna quote unquote win in their eyes. They may have the weaker machine. Obviously this isn't confirmed yet, but if assuming they do, but if they're but we might have the weaker machine, we've got God of War, Uncharted, Last of Us, Castlevania, Metal Gear Solid. Everyone's gonna be well.
And here's the preview for Castlevania in the style of Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Oh, also the Silent Hill. Here's Kojima.
Exactly right. That's the thing.
Keanu Reeves is the main character.
Specs are cool. Yeah, definitely. That's the thing. Yeah, people will be specs are cool, but they go with it. Ultimately, people go with the games, all right. And that's and I'm sure. I think Microsoft know that because that's why they spent so long buying studios a lot of the time.
They did.
So obviously they want to kind of fill that space, but that's definitely been the thing. Microsoft, there's no question, hardware, they're just they're leagues above with their stuff. But if they don't have the titles, it's going to mean nothing.
Sure.
Right. Well, it's going to be, they do have their own first party stuff that, in their exclusives that will be coming. But for third party games, they're going to be the console of choice, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Unless they're so expensive, in which case you have to. Because I know what you mean. Normally, if you were if you had all of them, you'd be yeah, of course I'm going to play my third party games on my Series X because they'll look better than they might on my PS5. But if you're oh, I can only get one, you're going to be well, I'm also going to play third parties on PS5 because it also has the exclusive potentially.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I'll be honest with you though. I've been playing a Microsoft exclusive title all weekend, Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Ooh, yes,
and that game is stupendous.
Yeah.
So
It looks amazing. I haven't played it yet, but it looks amazing.
It's outrageous.
I haven't played yet.
Yeah, I haven't played it. Briar, hit us with the details.
So I'm playing on an Xbox One X downstairs on my OLED TV, and I think it's probably the best looking game I've ever seen.
Wow.
Kind of like it's all 2D hand drawn art. It's so lush, and there's this thing that it does where it's got foreground art, and usually I don't really like when 2D games have foreground stuff because like it'll get in the way of what you're trying to do, like it'll block something.
Yeah.
But this kind of moves the foreground in a really good way, so it helps illustrate where you can go and where you can't go. So like if you see a lot of foreground stuff, it's like that's probably the end of the tunnel you're in. The stuff that you stand on and like everything feels like interactive. Like everything you touch and Ori stands on or jumps on, it moves a little bit. It gives a little bit. You know, like everything is just, it's got so many frames of animation, not just Ori himself and not just the enemies, but the actual environment it feels like organic in a way that most games just simply can't pull off. It's all running at 4K HDR. It does not have a smooth frame rate. It's kind of averages like in the 50s, which hopefully they can fix with a patch, you know, in the future. If not, hopefully the Series X can fix it.
Series X will run
it. The main thing that I've been so impressed with is how much better the combat is compared to the first game. Where the first game had this kind of like a satellite thing that would shoot out like these little dots, and basically you just spam the X button to do combat, and it would kind of have these like auto heat-seeking little projectiles that would go a certain range and kill things for you. This game you have a sword, and the sword is really dynamic. Is if you swing the sword while you're in the air, and you can kind of like rapidly tap the X buttons to do like a quick combo. If you swing the sword while you're in the air, it'll kind of make you levitate above the ground wherever you start swinging it. If you do an uppercut, it kind of like it brings you up a little bit, and then you can swing it straight down. And like all of those moves are really dynamic. Like if you encounter a guy who's hanging onto a ceiling, for anybody who doesn't know, this is like a Metroidvania 2D style platforming game. If you like say there's like a guy kind of crawling on a wall that you want to jump to, is you can use the uppercut and it'll just bounce him off. You don't have to like triple hit him with like a combo to kill him. You can just bounce him off. And then there's all like there's a lot of the moves that are shared from the first Ori, like being able to like jump to like a projectile or a lantern and then bounce off of it in any direction you want, to the point where you can start, once you start getting some abilities and feeling confident with them, it feels like you never have to touch the ground. Like you're just kind of like you're flying through levels as opposed to walking across them.
Cool.
Right.
The controls are spot on. The combat is so much more satisfying than the first game. And I've only put 10 hours into it so far, but initially it's got that Metroidvania kind of feeling where it's like this open place for you to explore, but it feels like it's naturally directed. There's no finger pointing you in the way you got to go, but it just feels like naturally the level design kind of just you're drawn toward the right direction, as opposed to just being like, I'm lost. Which block do I have to put a bomb on to like randomly figure out where to go next?
Yeah.
So far, it's magnificent.
It sounds amazing.
It's such a good franchise. We're kind of, the first time I played it, me and Tomo just played it passing the controller, and it was a really cool experience to have with another person. So we're kind of saving it for a date night where it's like we're gonna go through and play Ori. It's just such a beautiful game, and playing it on a huge TV with 4K is absolutely gorgeous. So I can't wait, and it's on Game Pass. So
yeah, that's right. It's on Game Pass on Xbox and PC, right?
Yeah.
So it launched on Game Pass?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh wow.
Yep.
I bought the physical edition though because I wanted a copy. Like I wanted the box.
I feel like with games like these, I like directly want to support the developers. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm telling you, there's this thing that it does when you're in this big area and you need to see all different directions. The screen just subtly zooms out, and you don't even realize it's doing it. You just realize that Ori's a little bit smaller than I'm used to, but I can see like all the stuff going on the screen that I need to see. But when you're in like this dark tunnel and it zooms in a little bit, and the Ori's a little bit big, it's like just everything about it. Like you just keep noticing like how subtly it's just beautiful. Like it's just doing these cool things.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
I can't believe how much better it is looking than the first game too.
Oh, really?
Like, that game was gorgeous. Yeah. This game is next level.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to play these games.
I know.
I was gonna play this. I was planning on playing it, and then Trials got announced, and I was like, "Well, crap! I'm gonna be playing Trials."
Yeah.
And then now I'm thinking about when I can actually do like because I want to play Ori 1 and then 2.
Yeah.
Oh man,
right.
That's the other thing about Ori 2 is apparently it's like 3 or 4 times the size of Ori.
Wow.
The first one.
Oh wow.
The first one wasn't that long or big of a game.
8 hours, right?
Yeah. It wasn't super long. It was challenging and beautiful and gorgeous, and the soundtrack was amazing, but it wasn't a super long game. So yeah, I think the second one is going to take much longer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say too, like having played through the first few hours of it, like I got a feeling like, God, I'm glad I played the first one to get really the emotional impact of what I'm seeing on the screen now.
So you recommend playing the first one?
Yeah, I kind of would, even though it's like normally I don't recommend that kind of thing, but you kind of want to see the end of Ori 1.
This isn't your typical game. It seems like a really like magical game.
Oh, I'm digging it. It's definitely over the last few months I've played all through Metroid, Super Metroid. You know, I played Blasphemous.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are 2D Metroidvanias. And here I am with Ori, and I mean, this is just next level. Like,
yeah,
it's just graphically, it's so good looking, and the new combat system just makes it so much fun to get into fights. That's
cool.
To me, wasn't there in the first one. You know, the fun of the first one was the platforming. It was really challenging and fun platforming. This one has that, plus really good combat.
Yeah,
sounds amazing.
Awesome.
I would totally play it this week, except Doom Eternal's coming out in 4 days.
Well, I may have to finish Ori before
that. And Animal Crossing.
And Animal Crossing. And Neo 2 is already out.
I've been trying to play. Yeah, you know what?
Let's hear about Neo 2.
I've been playing Neo this weekend.
Yeah.
I have realized, right? I love these kind of games, but I hadn't played Neo for a while, and I went back to Neo 2 this weekend because I played the demo a little bit, but only like briefly. I realized that I am very rusty. I was so bad this weekend. I was like, I went in, right? And yeah, I mean, I'm used to these kind of games where you're supposed to, you know, you die a lot, you learn a lot. But
die a lot, you learn a lot.
It wasn't even a boss. You know how like in Neo, you have like the yokai, which appear in those little kind of black fields.
Yeah.
And they're like, I guess they're kind of like mini bosses, but probably not even like mini boss. They're just like strong enemies.
Right.
I kid you not. This is how rusty I was. My first experience, the very first yokai, I died to about 20 times. I was like, what am I doing wrong? This is ridiculous. I was like, I just want to get to a boss. I just want to see what this game has to offer. I was like, this is stupid. So then I went back and I put on heavy armor. I got an Odachi out, a heavy weapon, and I just hit him and I just destroyed him. And I was like, you know what? I'm staying heavy weapon. I was trying to be all like fancy and I was trying to be all fancy and dodge and do all the dodges. I was like, no, screw dodging. I'm gonna stand there. I'm gonna be a unit and I'm gonna slap him in high stance and just rip through his stamina. And then I just made a mockery of him. And I was like, you know what? This is how I'm gonna do everything from now on. So basically, I put all my points into high stance or dachi. So I'm basically like a super tanky swing and I'm out of breath. But it does good damage. And then I took out the first boss. I got to nearly the second boss. So I'm slowly plodding through. I'm loving the game. Fantastic game. But oh my gosh, these make like Dark Souls games look like a walk in the park.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, I've always found
you just unsold me on this.
Yeah, I feel like for me, I mean, maybe it's kind of a kind of personal sort of difference thing, but I feel like quality-wise, I do still prefer like the Soulsborne games. I feel like they are better. They're more well-rounded. Like, Neo has more mechanics to it because obviously you have the stances, you have all these different combos, you have these ridiculously expansive skill trees that you can spec so many points into to the point where it is quite daunting. So if you love these kind of games, you'll really enjoy it. But I feel like because Team Ninja also used to be known for brutally difficult games. Obviously, Ninja Gaiden, they had some like crazy things.
Yeah.
So I feel like when you have that studio that suddenly kind of do their take on like a Soulsborne style thing, they're just going to be like, we're just going to show you how damn difficult it can be. So I feel like I've always felt like Soulsborne difficulty is kind of like appropriate in that like it's challenging. You will die a lot. You will get frustrated, but I've never really played one of the Soulsborne games and been like, that's kind of unfair. But there are some times in the Neo where I'm just like, I feel like that's a little bit cheap. So
yeah, there's some times in Neo that I found, especially if you've only played if you've played a lot of Soulsborne games, they set rules within the game, and you start to learn those rules as you get through the game, and then you realize that if you fight within those rules, you will defeat the boss. But Neo usually sets up a lot of rules, and then they have a boss that straight up breaks all of the rules. It's like, he can attack. He's a human that can attack through you hitting him because he can't get over it. So it's in a lot of through Neo, it kind of felt like, in order to be optimal in fighting the bosses, you need to cheese them. Whereas in Soulsborne stuff, it's like you can cheese them and it's super easy if you cheese them, but there are ways to be optimal without cheesing it. So there are some moments, not the whole of Neo, not the whole of that game does that, but there's some instances where I'm like, but you just spent like 15 hours teaching me that this is not how it works. And now you're telling me this is how it works.
It's so true, yeah. It's like, because you get to the point, especially when you play things like Soulsborne games, where after a while, the kind of quote-unquote trash mobs that kind of populate most of the world, they're just like, you might occasionally get caught off, but generally speaking, you're like, all right, I just blitz through them now. But like, even in Neo, there'll just be times where there'll be like a spear guy and like a sword guy and like an archer together. And I'll just be like, and I swear, I would just be like, I just want to go and get back to my body. And then the spear guy will trip me up and the archer guy will shoot me. And I'm just like, how have I died to this scrubby enemy? What the hell? So yeah, that was pretty brutal. But yeah, it's funny because like sometimes, some of those principles like you were sort of saying. I mean, I often, Dark Souls definitely taught me to be like patient and not be greedy with boss fights, right? Because a lot of the time trying to be greedy is what gets you killed. But literally, I was fighting this boss and I was fighting for about like 40 minutes, and I kept on trying to sort of play it like the methodical way, get a few hits in, space myself out. It wasn't going very well. So in the end, I just rushed him, and and my clean run was literally done in 2 minutes. I literally ran in, I hammered him, I then went into my transfer into my yokai form, literally blitzed all of my damage, and he was basically almost dead. And then I just got an assassination on him. I was like, okay, so there goes my strategy. I'm just going to rush him with a heavy weapon. So but it's fun. I love it. But I have to play it in stints because I was like, this is stressing me out. I need to relax. I need to go for a walk because this is.
That's funny.
Yeah.
From what I remember in Neo 1 I do recall that feeling of like perfect placements of trash mobs to be super annoying, like a couple archers and a couple of heavy dudes set up in a way that just makes it really brutal to run past. But the difference from Souls games and Neo, the big one for me was the world building. World building in Souls games is like they tell a story just by walking through the world, of what happened.
Yeah.
And Neo, I didn't get that feeling. Like it still looked good, obviously, with Neo, and it's a great game, but like it definitely it wasn't telling a full story to me just from the landscapes and the way things are positioned in that certain way. I'm assuming it's the same in Neo 2. I haven't played Neo 2 yet, and I would like to at some point, but
don't the Neo games have like an actual narrative though too?
They do, right?
They do, yeah. But it's told through more of like a mission structure. So you'll do an area, and then you kind of come out and you go to the world map, and you go back into the sort of thing again. So although there is still like the world building to a degree, it's definitely like you'll have like it's more chapter. It's definitely much more like select this stage, go and do this, and then come back and rinse and repeat sort of thing.
Yeah,
right.
And
whereas
also,
the Souls game, almost the only narrative they have is through the world building.
No, not necessarily. It's the characters that you talk to and like what you usually get.
If that makes sense.
I mean, Sekiro definitely made sense. It was like,
oh yeah, definitely Sekiro was different than like Dark Souls.
Yeah, but the OG Dark Souls were probably the most esoteric in that side. But even Bloodborne, there was a narrative of like what you were trying to get going on there. It's just those guys have an ability to make an incredible world that you go through.
Yeah.
Like
that's the one thing that you find in a lot of these games that make a Soulsborne like experience is you'll go through and you're like, but I'm playing the same kind of game, but the world is it's fun. I'm having fun, but the world is just not there as much. And that's because FromSoft do it almost perfectly. Everything is so perfectly crafted to give you certain emotions, certain feelings, certain experiences that it's so hard for anyone to replicate that.
Yeah. That's what I like most about those games, to be honest with you. I don't actually like the difficulty and the combat all that much. What I like is that how intricate the worlds are and how beautiful they are and how well they're put together. And then like how you'll be exploring one thing and I'm like, oh my God, it brought me back here. And like, what a perfect time to find a save point. Like that kind of stuff is just so artfully done and well done.
Yeah.
That's something that Ori reminds me of actually too.
Interesting. Yeah. So one thing I know that Neo 2, well, actually, maybe you can confirm this for me, Eric, is did Neo 2 double down on like the RPG side of the weapons and rolls and stats and all that?
I mean, there's definitely still a lot of that. Because I remember because there was like a ton of weapons in Neo before, right? Because it was like you'd always get like an incrementally better one, whereas like I think it's still largely speaking very much the same.
Okay.
I can't remember because it's been such a long time since I played Neo. I can't remember whether there was like in weapon progression before where like, you know, the longer you use the weapon you get more efficient with that particular one, so instead of kind of so I think a lot of those systems are basically still in place. One of the big changes obviously was like in Neo 1 you had the living weapon system, which was kind of like your super ability, whereas now you've got like the yokai form, so you've kind of got like a lot of fun. I mean that's a really cool system because obviously you defeat some of the yokai and they become like yokai abilities which you can then like use in combat.
Oh, cool.
You've got like a cool like yokai dodge. So this is one of those kind of things. I guess this game is like equivalent to sort of parrying. You're supposed to, you know, like there's a lot of enemies that have those big kind of telegraphed one hit moves to a degree, and instead of like dodging them, you like yokai dodge them because then you basically stun them in the process, and then obviously you can follow up, and then your living weapon now is that you turn into a yokai instead, and you can kind of go and do some like nutty moves. So that whole system is actually really, really cool.
Yeah, that's exciting to me because I kind of missed parrying in Neo. You can do it, but it's like under certain abilities and certain skills, and you have to do this and use this thing and spec into this thing. And especially as Sekiro was the game that I played before in Neo, it was like I missed just parrying, like getting the perfect parry all the way through the game is something that I really, really, really enjoy. Enjoy that playstyle a lot.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, definitely. I'd like to play it at some point, but this Doom Eternal's coming.
I think, you know, Tefty, maybe you should just quit doing something else, you know, like sleeping or something, so you have more time for video games.
Good tip.
That's what I did.
Sleeping is important. Never do that. Never skip sleeping.
I had 4 hours sleep before Friday trials.
And
the solution
it turned out great, right?
I'm dying inside.
No, the solution for Doom, right, is to forego playing on the PC for those spicy graphics. Buy it on Switch, and then you can play it on the toilet. Great, done, sorted. I've fixed your day for you.
Hefty would have to stream from his phone in the toilet.
Yeah,
I support this. I think this is a good idea.
It just sounds like excuses to me. I mean,
it's not illegal to fit your own bathroom.
I've given you a solution.
You might want to warn memes of the new setup, though.
What's all this tech doing in here? What the hell? Where's your camera in the bathroom?
You just need a phone, a tripod, and your Switch. You're good to go.
Good to go, right? Problem is, I want to rip and tear on a mouse and keyboard. Yeah.
You can rip and tear with the Joy-Cons.
I can't wait for that game. I am hyper excited for it.
I'm super excited for Doom Eternal. It comes out on Thursday night, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know when the official release time is, but I'm assuming it's North America, 9 p.m. Pacific.
It's those ones are normal, aren't they? Because they're story-based games. They're normally like those like midnight your time, aren't they?
Exactly.
Oh, I could be wrong.
Usually,
sure, but
yeah.
Usually. So whatever your region or your actual country, since there's multiple regions in the United States, usually midnight at East Coast, which is 9 p.m. Pacific.
You could be ripping and tearing in Animal Crossing.
Rip and tear those weeds out the ground.
That would make Animal Crossing much more appealing to me.
Take out a chainsaw and rip a bale of hay.
They need to do it eventually. It's been amazing. The crossover stuff has been so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really is a cool meme.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other news?
God, I don't think I can handle it anymore. Like, I'm just so excited right now for like the future of video games. I'm just so happy.
I want to see what Sony says. I want to see, Sony square up with what they're going to do spec wise, and I want to see these damn prices.
Yes,
did
I
we
need
talk
prices.
about E3 being canceled last week?
I don't know if it was
E3 is
confirmed last week. E3's canceled. The world is canceled.
The
You
world's
can't even
canceled.
leave your house. The bars are canceled. The gym's canceled. Restaurants are canceled.
Whoa,
I'm actually pretty upset about the bars being canceled. I'm not gonna lie.
Got to stock up on alcohol. All right.
Yeah.
I actually got a notification during the podcast from the DoorDash app saying that here are the restaurants that are still delivering but are not open for actual customers.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yep. I actually saw a video earlier on Twitter where it was in New Orleans and there were people in the streets going to bars because that's what you do there. And the cops were in the street saying, "Go home. You are putting everyone's safety at risk. Go home."
Damn.
Because
I think in Philadelphia they closed down all non-essential businesses, so like restaurants and stuff can't be open.
Yep.
When's St. Patrick's?
That was canceled, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it's official.
I think it might be.
St. Patrick's Day is canceled for sure.
I want my cream here, god damn it.
I mean, one of the celebrations in one of the cities, I can't remember where it was, but they cancelled that. Yeah.
So yeah, if you were planning on drinking on St. Patrick's at a bar,
You might have to go buy to the grocery store.
Maybe we get a big Discord of everybody drinking together. We'll just pretend to
There
be in
you
the same
go.
room.
there we go.
Discord did up
There
the
we go.
amount of people that you can have in the.
They
There
did
we go.
for a time.
First one to desk pop gets an award.
Oh man. Well, like I said, hopefully we get some more news about pricing and all that. And it goes without saying that some of this stuff is most likely going to get affected from all the world news.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because most of these things are manufactured in Asia.
Yeah, there's heavy speculation that the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox One Series X will get delayed.
Yeah, which
Just because they just can't do it. Like it's just not physically possible to get them here.
yeah,
on time.
Obviously that sucks. But I mean, all this stuff sucks with all these shows that I watch daily that are like I was watching John Oliver last week tonight, and they had to move into a small studio because the CBS place that they recorded in had confirmed cases. So they're like, okay, minimal staff, and so it's kind of crazy with all that stuff. So it sucks, but it's better to be healthy than sad, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, when you put it like that, there's so much of a choice.
Rather be healthy
than sad, I guess.
Sad over your, sickness.
I wonder if this is going to affect people's relationships because people are just home together all day. Can't go out on
9
dates.
months from today, we're gonna have a big old baby boom.
Or a big old divorce boom. One or the other.
Yeah, right?
One way or the other.
Oh man. All right. Well, that is the show today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Exciting Xbox news. Hopefully we'll, like I said, find out more about pricing and all that soon in the future.
Hopefully.
And from PlayStation. If you want to find more of me, you can talk to me at Teft on Twitter and catch my streams, twitch.tv/TeftyTeft. Like I said, Trials has been awesome. Looking forward to Doom Eternal in the video games, man. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. I am Miss 5000 Watts. You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Just look for Miss 5000 Watts.
And you can find me over on Twitter at Arix, or on YouTube at Arix Gaming, or the newly released video games channel, which is around combining fitness and gaming.
Nice.
Launched last week.
On
Although
Twitter.
probably bad
Right.
timing because now the gyms have been closed. But hey, it launched.
Hey, you can get video games at home too, right?
True.
You can get official video games with the Nintendo workout thing, the Ring Fit,
That's true. The Ring Fit.
the ultimate video games.
It's a new video coming there.
I love
next
the
week.
name of that. It just sounds so good.
You could have a whole series about at-home video games, right?
True.
Yeah. I'm Briar Rabbit. You can find me sitting on the couch watching the latest episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, which I just got a notification is live.
Oh, nice. We know what Briar is going to be doing. Awesome. All right. Well, that is the
Thank you, everybody.
that's the show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting. Thanks for watching. If you're here live or on YouTube or on our podcast syndications, and a shout out to all of our Patreons and also our supporters here on Twitch for subbing. You guys are amazing. We'll see you next time for another episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
SideQuest complete. Ba-ding!
Bada bing.